I came back from a couple of weeks away in the sun a few days ago, and I came back to bloodshed and mayhem in the cryptocurrency market. I can't really describe it as anything else. I guess if you add in the jet lag and the fact that I've come back and actually caught a cold, there hasn't been an awful lot to get happy about in the last week. But nevertheless, in amongst all the mayhem, there is always seeds of opportunity. And that's what I want to talk to you about in this video. Two things before I get too deeply into this video. First, I apologize for the way I sound. I've come back from sunny and warm to sunny and pretty cold, and it's instantly had an effect on me. The second thing I want to say is that I will do my best to keep this video nice and short. I just want to get a couple of quick points over, and the purpose really is to explain to any of you who are thinking that the end of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and all things connected has come. I just want to explain to you why. Personally, I've seen this situation in various guises many times before, and the market for cryptocurrency and new style, new age money, as some people call it, is alive, kicking and still expanding, whatever you may see from snippets of news and headlines. Headlines are, after all, designed to grab our attention. I'll just give you a quick example. Today there's a slightly more positive headline than I have seen recently, and that is Bitcoin news live: crypto price meltdown slows as market reels from Terra collapse. Now, if you don't know what Terra is, I'm going to explain it briefly. Terra refers to something called Terra Luna. Terra Luna in itself is a cryptocurrency, and it's an organization with its own blockchain, and it has very much focused on what we call the DeFi, or decentralized finance market. Now, you probably have heard that expression many times before. If you haven't, simply decentralized finance means predominantly financial instruments and investments that are not hooked in to the traditional banking system. So in other words, if I want to make a deal with you, I want to lend you some money, and I don't want to go anywhere near the banks, etc., I could do it through some form of cryptocurrency, through a decentralized finance arrangement. And we wouldn't have to sit down and sign contracts or exchange contracts with each other. The principle is that it all runs automatically through a smart contract which has been built on the blockchain. There's masses that I could go into here, and I don't want to blow anybody's mind by going into the ins and outs of decentralized finance. That's not the point of this video, but I want to just give you a little bit of background so you know what I'm talking about. Terra Luna. Terra Luna is an organization very much focused on decentralized finance, and by the way, they have, in the relatively short history of their existence, they've done very, very well in this market. Unfortunately, now they have hit the worst thing that anyone could hit. In fact, let me just show you this sudden banner that's appeared in CoinGecko. That wasn't here yesterday. I was going to do this video yesterday, by the way, and I was looking at it all and thinking, well, I haven't even really got my brain back into gear, so I'll put it off and do it today. This banner wasn't there yesterday, and it says, in light of the recent depegging incident of UST, Luna price and liquidity have become unstable across exchanges. The Terra blockchain has also been halted, and they refer to an article. Just pop that into Twitter. The Terra blockchain has officially halted at block 7607789. Terra validators have halted the network to come up with a plan to reconstitute it. More updates to come. So it's pretty bad when a blockchain actually effectively shuts down. Now, it's not to say it shut down forever, but it looks like the Terra Luna blockchain is in a terrible state. And if we look at their own coin, let's just come down here and we'll look at, I'll just click on the maximum period for now. It's been around on CoinGecko, or CoinGecko have reported it since May 2019. That's actually about when it all started, Terra Luna. And nothing happened. It was just a coin, a blockchain, and then they started to get into the decentralized finance space last year, and they became very, very prominent in the decentralized finance space. And you can see that at one point they hit, in fact, I was about to say $116. It's right here, all-time high in value of $119. And sadly, you can now see that 100% of that value has gone, and it's effectively now worth nothing. It's worthless. So if you've got any Luna coins, I feel very, very sorry for you right now, because they are worthless. And if you were banking on that as a big part of your financial holding in cryptocurrency, then I feel sorry for you, and I really do. Moving on, what happened to make the Luna coin devalue to zero? What's actually happened? And the answer to that is their stable coin. Now, again, I don't want to be too technical here, I really don't, but they had their own stable coin, and it grew to be the third largest stable coin of all stable coins, after Terra, the big one, USDT, and USDC, which has been a coin heavily pushed and promoted by Coinbase, who are a very big exchange. The third one now, by the way, is Binance, their own version. The Binance exchange is the biggest in the world. The Binance exchange own version of the US dollar stable coin, and that's the key, stable coin. The word stable to indicate that it's pegged to the value of a dollar, and therefore whenever you move from one currency to another, you want something you can park your money in. The idea is stable coins become that something. So typically, quick explanation for you, someone who's in the business of buying Bitcoin when it's low and taking profits when it's high will generally move between Bitcoin and some form of US dollar stablecoin, mostly USDT. That's the one I've always tended to use when hedging. Unfortunately, human nature being what it is, of course, most people get this whole process completely wrong. What you should always do is follow the wisdom of people like Warren Buffett, who once said something like, I can't quote him exactly, but he once said that a smart investor is someone who gets greedy when the market is in a state of fear, and gets fearful when the market is looking greedy. In other words, that's just a very different way of just saying you should sell at a high and buy at a low. And logic tells us, oh, well, of course, you sell when something's high, you buy when it's low. Unfortunately, logic may tell us that, but that's exactly the reverse of what most people do. What most people do is they panic, okay? FUD creeps into the market. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt creeps into the market. They see the price dropping. They are overcome with this oh my God, if I don't sell now, it's going to drop even further. I better get out while I can. And then, of course, they help to prolong the problem by adding to all those people selling. When you sell an asset in a market, any market, and if it keeps getting sold, that asset value will drop because people aren't buying it. The smart people, of course, are jumping in and they're doing just that. They're buying it. Now, today, I don't know quite how that the Terra UST coin is at 10 cents. It was I'm pretty sure it was worse than that yesterday, but anyway, it's at 10 cents, and it should be pegged to the value of $1. So it should be at $1, 81, 82 pence in UK sterling terms. It shouldn't stray very much from that point ever, but it did. It somehow got unpegged from the market. That started to happen around the 9th of May. As you can see, before that, pretty much $1, just slightly under $1, but pretty much $1. And then, oh boy, it drops. What caused that initial drop? I don't know. I'm not privy to what caused that, but there was a reaction from Terra Luna themselves, and they started to sell Bitcoin reserves to buy the UST to push it back up, and that looked like that was working fine. Of course, it was having a horrible impact on Bitcoin, though. Bitcoin prices were already in a pretty downward cycle because of news about inflation and the world economy, and of course the war in the Ukraine and so on. So there was lots of bad news coming through which was affecting Bitcoin anyway, and then suddenly there's this big sell-off of Bitcoin from the Terra Luna organization. Panic stayed, unfortunately, and the inevitable happened, and the sell-off continued. They pumped more and more of their Bitcoin reserves in. Rumor has it now that Terra Luna have no more Bitcoin reserves. They are effectively, I hate to use the word bankrupt, but they are effectively, for all intents and purposes, bankrupt until they come up with a new plan. And they couldn't even prop it up at that point. It continued to sell off. So there we have it, a stable coin pegged to the US dollar, which is currently worth 1/10 of the value of a US dollar. Now, its all-time low was, as you can see, at 1.4 cents. And that was literally, as I speak, 8 hours ago, and there's been a little bit of recovery since then, somehow. Don't quite know how, but there you are. The Terra blockchain, the Terra Luna blockchain, has been turned off right now. They're looking to find solutions, which I imagine will involve finding investors, big investors in the market, to prop them up over this period until they can restructure. That's great, but it doesn't help all those people that have lost a lot of money. So where's the good news in this? I mean, I indicated that there's always a silver lining with any cloud. Well, the good news is this, and I'm going to stick with it. There's lots of good news, actually. If you look for it, the cryptocurrency market throws opportunities at you more often than it throws nightmares at you. Trust me, I've been involved in cryptocurrency now. Believe it or not, I'm in my 10-year period, and I've seen Bitcoin prices crash lots of times, and I've pretty much ignored all of them, and I've always extensively tried to avoid selling my Bitcoin at prices that I believe are well below what they should be. Bitcoin is stabilizing a bit today. You can see it's nearly 9% up over the last 24 hours, but pretty much, if we look at it, it has been dropping and dropping. In fact, it's really been dropping this entire year. If I click on a year, you can see here in November it was hitting all-time highs, November 2021, and it's been dropping off ever since. Small rallies, and then bang, right down here at one stage at well under $30,000. $30,000 is kind of a critical price for Bitcoin, as far as most experts believe. and when the support drops away at $30,000, yeah, people start to panic. Most of the money that was coming into Bitcoin that drove it up to this price, it's a complete repeat of 2017, the tail end of 2017. Everybody was buying Bitcoin. They were starting to get really interested in Bitcoin. They were buying it at a relatively high price. And you may remember that in 2018, the price slumped, and the same people that had been buying as it was moving to all-time highs were selling as it was moving back down to not all-time lows, far from it, much lower prices than it had achieved, and history is repeating itself. And I say to those people, I understand fear is a powerful motivator. I understand why people panic and sell, but they are doing themselves no favors. Bitcoin always recovers. Can I say absolutely with 100% certainty that Bitcoin will always be a valuable asset? But just look at the facts. While this price has been dropping, there are countries around the world who've been buying Bitcoin. I mean, the biggest example and the obvious example is El Salvador, who've even made it legal tender, by the way. It's legal currency in El Salvador. They've been buying Bitcoin and buying as much as they can get while this price has been dropping. Why? Because they understand the long-term value of Bitcoin. I've got to bring this to an end, so let me just quickly throw some figures at you that may surprise you. First off, Bitcoin's all-time high is $69,000 last November. It is currently 55% off of its all-time high. Its all-time low, its CoinGecko says $67.81. That's not actually the case. That's just since they've been monitoring the prices. Its all-time low was zero, and it stayed at well under $1 for the first, I guess, 3 years of its life, and then it started to move up in value. It hit $1,000 for the very first time in late 2013. That is 9 years ago. My first experience of a crumbling Bitcoin price was around then, because I'd been buying when it was on the up and up, and of course I saw a real plummet in price. And yes, I admit it, for a while I was sorely tempted to sell some of it off, but it wasn't the only asset I was investing in at the time, and it was always a long-term plan, so I didn't sell off. Like everybody else, I have the odd emergency in my life where I need to find some quick money, and there have been times when I've sold Bitcoin at a less than ideal price. But the fundamental is this: I believe in Bitcoin long term, and I believe that it's here to stay, and I believe that we haven't seen anything like its potential true value yet. And yes, I am one of those people, I don't mind admitting, that believe that Bitcoin will eventually exceed $100,000, and it could indeed go much higher. So if you take the view that Bitcoin is when I say take the view, put this attitude in your mind: Bitcoin is a $100,000 asset that sometimes gets sold for much less, and when it's getting sold for much less, that's when you should be buying. But we don't know when these ultimate periods are. So the answer is very, very simple. I've spoken about it before, but it's the best way to buy Bitcoin, and that is to apply something called cost averaging. Now, I would typically call it pound cost averaging. You'll hear it referred to as dollar cost averaging. Simply put, it means you commit a sum of money. It doesn't even have to be regularly. It doesn't have to be once a month, once a week, whatever. You can just do this as and when you want to, in a piecemeal fashion. But look at it. Right now, we are down to the lowest period we have seen since, let's go and have a look. It's July last year was the last time it was down at this level. And what happened after July last year? It went up and up and up and up again. Now, if you're buying, especially if you're buying through a reducing price, you're getting extremely good value. So if you're doing, I'm going to give an example. Let's say you're spending £100 a week, for just as an example, on Bitcoin, and you're buying when the value is dropping, you're getting a really good deal. When the value increases, you're getting a slightly worse deal, you're buying less Bitcoin. But if you really want to be clever and mathematical about it, you could take a view that you have an upper limit of X, so maybe you don't buy if it ever exceeds $40,000 or whatever, and you don't have a lower limit. As it drops, you buy, you buy, you buy, and you use a cost averaging leveraged system, which is what I've just described to you. So you set an upper limit, you stop pumping money in when it hits that upper limit, and then you set a limit at which point you are prepared to buy again, and you buy through the downs. Become the Warren Buffett type investor. Don't sell out when the market is in fear. Buy when the market is in fear, okay? And don't get greedy when the market is being greedy, because you don't know when the top comes in. We all want to predict the top. We all want to say, next week Bitcoin's going to hit $100,000 and at that point I'm going to sell off. But we don't know when that $100,000 is, and if you allow fear to dominate your principles, you're going to lose. It's as simple as that. Just look at the market. This is happening because people are selling. Do you really want to be one of those sellers? Forgive me if you have been one of those sellers. I'm just trying to explain to you that you're doing exactly the opposite of what you should do. Gold is a great example of this philosophy that you can use if you want to go back over hundreds or even thousands of years. The gold price has gone up and down like a yo-yo. Does that mean that there's no value in gold? No, it doesn't. Pick a value of your own, a realistic value of what you think gold should be consistently. And gold is very heavily manipulated, by the way. We know that, and there is an argument now that Bitcoin is also manipulated, and I personally believe that to be true. And here's why: Bitcoin is a very attractive asset right now to the bankers in the world, and they don't want to buy it at $50,000 or $60,000. They want to buy it in the basement. So guess what? They do a lot of market manipulation. I'm pretty sure of it. But that's fine if you understand something's been manipulated and you can join the manipulators yourself. What the hell? Don't sell when the price is low. And that is the biggest silver lining. There are others. I am going to briefly mention one because it's part of it's part of an economy that I'm looking at very closely. I'm involved in. I love the results they're producing, and this has to do with yield nodes. If you don't know what yield nodes are, there's a link below. Click on that to go to the site and find out. I would suggest you use that link and don't try and go through Google. And the reason I say that is because there are a lot of phishing sites out there trying to pretend to be yield nodes, and they're not yield nodes. And if you click on the wrong one, you're not careful, you could end up going somewhere completely different, and that could be dangerous. So I guarantee the link below will take you to yield nodes. And yes, by the way, full disclosure, it is also an affiliate link, and I'll even tell you what happens when someone clicks on my yield nodes affiliate link and subsequently they join and they make a deposit. Basically at that point I will earn 5% of what they deposited, not from their money, but yield nodes will pay me that out of their own profits. Just be aware of that. It is an affiliate link, I don't mind telling you that. And by the way, everybody who joins yield nodes has the same rights. So if you join and you love it and you want to introduce your brother, sister, mother, father, whatever, and they join and they make a deposit, you will also earn a 5% commission. That's it. It's not multi-level marketing or anything to do with networking. It is a straight 5% thank you payment for bringing in new business. So I tell you that because then you know what I get out of the link. However, if you click my link and you go to yield nodes, you are definitely going to yield nodes. You'll be able to look around safely, and if you don't ever do anything, that's fine. Of course, I don't earn any money, and that's also fine. I do yield nodes predominantly for my own investment purposes. Let's just take a look at why I'm rabbiting on about yield nodes. One of the things yield nodes do is they have their own coin. They have their own coin called the Sapphire coin. And look at Sapphire, it's 74 cents today. It's just had a beautiful day in the markets. It has an all-time high of $4.36. So of course it's 82.8% off of that all-time high. They have been affected like everything else in the market. But if we look at them in context, that all-time high was right back at the beginning when they launched. They launched at a specific fixed price, as most cryptos do, and it has been massively consistent. And while everything else was losing its shirt, Sapphire was doing really well. Let's have a look at 7 days and you'll see it in context. That's their fall off. Pretty gentle. And now they're bouncing back big time. I mention that because it's just one project of many that's part of the Yield Nodes portfolio, and it will give you hopefully some perspective on the fact that they know what they're doing. Obviously Yield Nodes do a lot more than that. They are into masternoding predominantly and staking coins, and like everybody they're affected by downturns in the market. But even through those downturns over the last few months, they've been managing around about 7% return on a month-by-month basis. It's a good place for some money right now. And like everything though, don't put everything into Yield Nodes that you have. Only use money you can ultimately afford. That was it. I just wanted to give you my 10 penneth of thoughts on the bloodshed and mayhem that's been in the crypto markets lately. Crypto's not going anywhere. Decentralized finance is only going to increase in terms of availability, and we still haven't seen what Bitcoin can do. Parting note for you, just so you know, 3.9% of the entire world's population own some form of cryptocurrency. It's about, 0.02% of the world population that have some Bitcoin, but 3.9% in total, in general, have some form of cryptocurrency, based on the last data I can find. Is the market mature? Has it seen its limit? Well, I'll give you an answer this way. Remember, 3.9% of the world has cryptocurrency. 98% of the world own some form of smartphone, feature phone, cell phone, whatever you want to call it. I think there's some growth left in the market, don't you? That's all for now. Bye bye.